All right, ladies and gentlemen, it is your favorite dark sorcerer here, practicing necromancer and warlock. So today, I thought I would do a book review and kind of compare a couple lesser viewed grimoires. The Black Raven by Dr. Faustus was a 15th century book of black magic, spiritualism, that was also known as the Faustbach at one point. It's also known as the threefold coercion of hell. Okay. So, and then you compare that with the Red Book of Appin. Okay. The Black Book of Appin was based off Vlad Tepes, also known as Dracula. Okay. Because he was unkillable. And you look at the guy's life, you can actually understand why that mythos came about. But the Red Book of Appin was actually written by his scribe, much like Dante, okay, in his little journeys. He had a scribe that recorded everything. But in this case, it was one based off how to become a sorcerer, a wizard, okay, a practitioner of the black arts. And so I thought I would take a moment and kind of just show you a couple of these, okay? First of all, the Black Raven, okay? This is just a small little manuscript. Now, if you want the bigger one, you got to pay a boatload of money for it. Okay, just saying. And then you got the True Red Book of Appin that was forwarded about 2016. Okay, but I also have the original, so in PDF form. So that's that one there. This is the one that came out back in 2016. And if you go into PDF format, you have the original, okay, Red Book of Appen. You can go underneath Scribd to get that, by the way. Scribd, very, very good one. Now, we're going to start off today with the Red Book of Appen, namely because it is one of my favorites to work with and to um, literally contact Moloch, Beelzebub, Astaroth, and Samael with, not just Lilith too. Okay, Lilith, the mother of the Lilin family. Okay, uh, peppermint tea, very very good. So the Red Book of Appin was translated by Scarabeus. I probably butchered that name, by the way, but it's spelled Scarabeus. Okay. And on the very first page, it says, "For there is no God besides our Lord Devil, and he has no other servants beside the devoted to him. Reject light, acquire darkness, and reject Christ, acquire beast. And eternity shall dwell within thy heart. Enlightened by flame, for from age to age it exists. And light is not light, but darkness is." Love that saying. So, anyways, roughly around the year of 1461, a horseman dressed in red rose before me and told me such words. Now, before I get into this, every grimoire, every grimoire that is out there, be it the grimoire of Pope Honorius, and also known as the Constitution of Pope Honorius, or the Clavicle of Solomon, okay, always gives warnings, always gives some form of reference to cleanse thyself, withhold certain stuff, um do a lot of prayers, all that bullshit. And this is basically why I like these two books, because they don't go into that bullshit. Okay, they do not go into that bullshit. So, and then when you get into the more satanic stuff, well, then you have their own agendas, their own philosophies, their own set of rules, like Reverend Caesar 999, for example, from the Vampiric Temple, basically has his own nine satanic statements, his own, sins, or whatever you want to call them. You have Myrmidon Pontifex Maximus, a traditional Satanist, who wrote the Devil's Bible, the Devil's Disciples, and the Devil's Coven. Now, these books can be found in one called the Tentatio Diabolis. But in the Devil's Coven, he puts forth a philosophy that really has his own way of summoning spirits. Okay, his own rules. Now, first, never ask demons for help when your heart belongs to the church. They hate this kind and make everything to destroy them. Second, blasphemy during the rites cannot be superfluous, but like prudence and diligence, which with which you get prepared for them, cannot too. And third, he who stepped onto this path may never escape from it, and may never betray another wizard. And furthermore, he never may betray his Lord Prince of Darkness. Such are doomed on the punishment so dreadful that all the unholy folk, deprivileged before his face, and wandering all over the world in such of a prey, fall down of fright just having heard of it. All right. So you see where this is very intriguing. Okay, very, very intriguing. You have a set of rules, just three little, warning signs. Don't serve the church, be respectful, don't have to blasphemy or anything. It's just more of a heart's desire. And then never betray. Just never betray. Loyalty speaks for itself. Loyalty speaks for itself, ladies and gentlemen. Okay? I really like that. Because in my personal experience when working with demons, even the fallen angels, I've never betrayed my oath to them. I've always shown respect. I don't use circles because I'd rather meet with them face to face, as equals. It would be like going to, for an example, a UN meeting. Okay? It would be like going to the UN and having tables separating you. Okay? That's basically what a circle is. The only time you really need a circle is when you are performing spells, rituals, ceremonies, because it is a circle of empowerment, not like these white light wannabes call it as a circle of protection. No, it's a circle of empowerment. But the Red Book of Appen does speak on a circle. And I'm going to show this to you. All right, right here. I want you to see that. Okay. Basically, that is the only circle outside of certain talismans. Okay. Now look at this. Okay. Oop. Okay, so I mean, there are certain seals. Okay, notice. There you go. And then something like that. But the thing I like about this is it doesn't just go into Samuel, Lilith, Beelzebub, and Astaroth, Asmodeus, Adremelech, Satan, Naama, Typhon, and a few others. Belphegor, Cassian, Ebagor, and then going into part 3 and stuff like that, where it talks about the. I'm going to show you this one here, so because it actually is relevant. They show another variation of that circle. Okay, almost similar to the clavicle of Solomon. But unlike the clavicle of Solomon, the Red Book of Appen is very simplistic. It deals with very few things, and it really makes it simplistic for a newcomer that wants to make a pact, wants to get to know these spirits. It doesn't go through a lot of bullshit. It doesn't go through a lot of drama, unnecessary bullshit. Okay, basically. It reminds me a lot of necromancy, necromantic rites and rituals. So, I mean, for an example, it kind of gives you a certain thing. Okay. For an example, I'm gonna read a little bit here. Okay. To become a wizard must first of all reject the church of God, attend to a cemetery or other place where human bones rest, or to the walls of a temple of God and say so. And then goes into a little blasphemous prayer. Okay, a little bit of a blasphemous prayer. I curse thee, Jesus of Nazareth, slave of the slave, brat of a whore. Shall thine sufferings be strengthened, and say they never end? Cursed be God the Father, cursed be God the Son, cursed be God the Holy Spirit for ages and ages. Yahya, Verikla, Dezer, Bet, Zu, Abraxas, Yanamash, Beelzebub, Astaroth, Moloch, exact. In the name of Beelzebub, Astaroth, and Moloch shall it be thus. And it goes into a couple of other types of prayers that are much older. For an example, there are also the words of denial and Synechias by Veron, Ias Kenos Zevet Rabbis El Tartari Ashmodei Balbaret Zeria Netmik Mammon T Storas Zeraphim. Amen. Okay. The legendary black wizard Varan lived on Cyprus in V-VI centuries of our era. Practically no credible information is remained about him. Okay, and then it goes into a couple other things before going into this. Sarah from the word of eternal damnation used by Greek black wizards and is analogy for the Kabbalistic word of evil Nimmerzeth. Okay, so there really is very simplistic meanings here. Okay, then it will go into that whole circle, the one that I showed you with Leviathan, Behemoth, Satan, and Vol. Okay, dealing with the trident, the hand, and all that stuff. And you will have to follow the wizard into the trails of the woods, and you have to deny 3 times. Okay. Now I shall tell you how the ritual numerator or annotation must be carried out when one who rejects Christ becomes a follower of the wizard. For that, let him, know. So the wizard, having touched his forehead by his hand, will verify that he really denies. Whoever deceives the wizard will be killed by the wizard. After that, the wizard will lead him to a valley where grass doesn't grow and draw on the ground a circle so that the hand in the trident face the north. He stands with his back facing the south, and the adept stands facing him. Wizards will ask him, "Are you ready to step into the community of the servants of darkness?" And the adept must reply, "Yes." "Are you ready to follow me in everything I tell you?" And may the adept reply, "Yes." Are you ready to be cruel and merciless, not to love your fellow, and in everything to listen to me until I tell you otherwise? And he shall reply as before, "Yes." After that, the wizard will wound the left hand, basically bloodletting, hemomancy practices, another thing of necromantic rites, and the adept with his dagger, and give him the name. From that moment on, the adept becomes initiated in the follower of the wizard and will obey his teacher till the day when the teacher goes beyond the limit, dividing day from night, and only then the adept will become a wizard. Okay? And he goes into a lot of details within the next few pages, breaking down everything and kind of educating you on each meaning of the symbols and symbology, not just the spirits that you'll be working with. So you can see why I like the Red Book of Appen. But like I said back in 2016, this also came out. Think of this as a fourth installment, okay? And it goes into a lot of what I just read here, yes, but it goes into a warning of this book's use, a note on the great man of this land, the manner of bringing rain or dry, symbolatry such as this, okay? Now, don't get me wrong, this book comes in handy, especially when it's going hand in hand with the Red Book of Appen, because think of this book more as utilizing spell work, okay? Because that's basically what it is. Things against, you're looking at remedy for laziness, a potent elixir, medicine which will prevent drunkenness, a right from the Ottomans to destroy a foe, a prayer to achieve might in battle, wealth of the land, a Frenchman's hand, basically the hand of glory, another necromantic tool, the most miraculous flute, a bone of Hungary, okay, and so forth. So, yes, this book here does go along with the Red Book of Appen. It's more broken down with a lot more information than what was initially written in the Red Book of Appen. Okay. Now, with that said, why don't we begin with the Black Raven? As I said, the Black Raven was a grimoire that appeared roughly around the 15th century, near the end of the 15th century, was published two or three times between the 15th century and the 16th century. And I believe one more time in the 17th century, if I remember correctly, which was a century later. And today it is more associated with the Fortunes of Faust by um, Elizabeth M. Butler. Okay. And the perception of this is more like a classical play. Okay. But the Black Raven, otherwise known as the threefold coercion of hell, the Faustbach, okay, is a book where you can call on spirits. And it literally will tell you and walk you through it. So let me just read to you real fast the table of contents. You have a warning, my first summoning, Caput Premium, general citation of all spirits, Caput Secondum. Hey, Daddy's doing a video. Come back later. You got Caput Tertum, which is basically Ariel seal, Marbule seal, Mephistopheles seal, basically the seven crown princes of the air. Okay. A lot of you who have actually studied demonology or even angelology at some point in your career as an adept of the arcane will probably come across the, the, excuse me, the seven crown princes of the air. Okay. Maybe even the seven Olympic spirits. Okay, the seven crown princes of themselves, of sins and all that. Basically, out of the six and seven books of Moses is where you'll find the most information about this particular set of spirits. Okay, um, the Imperium Magnum Infernalis and so forth. Okay, summoning each one of these spirits. Okay, it's roughly about 56 pages long. So when we get into this real fast, I'm going to go to my. Let's go to the first summoning immediately. I, Dr. Johann Faust, am skilled in the free arts. From an early age on, I have read many books. During my studies, I ran across a book that contained many of these things concerning the summoning of spirits. At first, I had my doubts, but I liked the idea of testing the practices that I have read of in the book, for I enjoyed the thought of the results that such practices would bring. However, as soon as I began to practice, things happened exactly as the book has told. A very powerful spirit, Astaroth, which a lot of people associate with Astarte, stood in front of me. He demanded how now from me to tell him why I had called him. Hurriedly, I decided that he should be serviceable and helpful to me in many situations and desires that I had. As a condition, the spirit demanded that I had to make a treaty with him at first. Basically, your blood pact, your pact of service. Okay. In the beginning, I had little inclination to do so. However, I only had a weak circle since my original thought was to only try things out for a bit. For this reason, I was in no position to resist, and I had to follow that which the Spirit asked from me. Soon we had drawn up an agreement that said that the Spirit had to serve me for a set time and amount of 2 years. Okay. Basically, this would be classified as your first pact. A lot of the older traditions speak of first, second, third, fourth, and fifth pacts, sometimes six, depending on the tradition. Now, as I was saying, he goes on and makes the pact, and he ends up denying a couple of the spirits that Astaroth sent to him, only to find out somebody that was really skilled and quick and full of fruition when it comes to wisdom. Okay. And that was the spirit Anagiel. Okay. So he ended up working with Aziel, Aziel. Okay. From that point on. And he had a few others. But what I liked about this book was the fact that it used various different symbols. Okay. If you follow Wiccan pagan traditions or even occultism, you're going to see these symbols here. Maybe even some alphabets in ancient writings. Okay. In this case, when you look at these writings, it's teaching you how to contact spirits, how to write their name out. Much like a, let's call it a magical box, okay, using the spirit's name, using numerology even. You can find this from various different books, from the Black Arts by Richard Cavendish to the Lesser Key of Solomon to, say, for an example, the Sacred Magic of Abramelin the Mage and such. Okay. But then it also works with the circles. Now, I've seen this circle in numerous different grimoires, just like I've seen this one here from my own research and studies. But what I found interesting is that circle isn't just about summoning or invoking spirits, but evoking them as well. In a lot of ways, it is a symbol that is much like the sword mastery symbol of wizardry. But in this case, you're going with sorcery, black magic. Okay? Notice right there is where you would stand. You have all your spirits that you're going to be working with, the method and symbolatry. Okay? Notice right here. The Grand Dukes. And it even has depictions of what the spirits looked like from his perspective. I really like that because not all grimoires do this. The Seal of Ariel. Now, personally, I've never come across this seal outside of the Black Raven. I've seen similar stuff from older grimoires, like the 6 and 7 books of Moses, but they don't go into detail of how to do this. In fact, the 6 and 7 books of Moses shows them in a circle, not just free agents. So this book was really good. It was very well written and really maintained. And you got each and every single one of these. Okay, that's Marbiel. Okay, Marbiel seal, very good. Mephistopheles seal. Those of you who go to the 6 and 7 books of Moses, even if you go to an occult shop, like let's say for an example, oh, what's the best one to go to here? We can either go to azurgreen.net, or which is basically a occult and pagan type warehouse where you have numerous different artists that create this stuff for the amulet, you know, the amulet. And you can also go to Luciferian Apotheca. Okay, there's a few people that actually have a history, kind of like a hatred towards them. But personally, I don't see the issue. They're selling a product. That's it. They're not. They could have practitioners or they don't. I can tell you by my own personal experience with, say, for example, Azurgreen. Most of the employees there don't even practice witchcraft or sorcery of any kind. You do have one or two practitioners that you can turn to that work there. Now, for Luciferian Apotheca, that's a whole nother thing because I don't know much about the place. Okay, outside of there in the southwest of the U.S., that's all I know. Maybe even down in Mexico. I don't know. But anyways, when you get into the seal of Mephistopheles, you're going to see it in a wide range of symbology. So this is basically the most simplistic one that I've seen so far. Okay, in my career as a Black Adept. And this one here, you can easily draw and utilize through hemomancy practices. And it's the same thing with Barbiel's seal as well. So this book here really allows you to utilize these seals in a much greater capacity. But what I liked most about it is that by the time you get into the Imperium Magnum Infernalis, the Infernal Great Power, you have this. Okay? 2 pages. The Infernal Empire as follows: Lucifer the Emperor, Belial, victory, Satan, governor, Beelzebub, governor, Astaroth, governor, Pluto, governor. And then the 7 Grand Dukes of the Infernal Empire. Basically, the 6 and 7, the individuals from the 6 and 7 books of Moses, the 7 crown princes of the air. Okay. Then on the next page, you have these are the grand ministers and secret infernal councils: Abaddon, Shemas, Milia, Lapasus, and Meripus. These are the spiritus familiars of the infernal empire, and let's just say there's a lot of them that you really want to pay attention to. So, and even on page 42, it begins the actual pact making process. And it doesn't just go into the magical alphabet type speaking, not Latin, like in, say, for example, the Satanic Rituals put out by Anton Zandaleve, or that of something so extreme and heinous as that of, say, Aleister Crowley. Okay. And if you're not really a big on the church, well, guess what? You're not really going into the whole Latin or Greek process either. You're not calling on Elohim, Yeshua, and all that other bullshit. I really liked this grimoire because of that. Okay. Basically, you have I call thee Spirit Aziel by Durashian, Mayim, Lulim, Minium, Sinim, Zayim, Sulim. I conjure thee spirit, name of the spirit, and goes into other names. It's a very This is actually a book that will teach you the very simplistic meanings of pact making, okay? And calling on spirits through evocation or invocation. It's not a 3-hour process either. It's something that's very simplistic, and I think that many of today's adepts that really want to get into practices of spiritual conjuration or reanimation through necromantic rites or witchcraft or, say, for an example, Satanism, demonolatry, whatever, will enjoy. So I recommend these 2 books to you hands down. Okay? So with that said, I want to thank those of you who came in here with me. I hope you go out and get them, study them, practice them, enjoy them, and see where it leads you. Maybe combine them in your own rituals. That's up to you. All right? But follow the witch's creed, the witch's oath, and the witch's pyramid, because it will benefit you in the long run. All right? Have a good day.